What's going on? I'm coming here today from my kitchen, and this is where I keep this knife. This is the Spyderco Bow River. Probably one of my favorite knives in my collection. It gets used a lot. It feels great in the hand, and these handles, this layered G10, is probably one of the most, I don't know, just good looking knives that I have, so I want to use it, you know? It is 8Cr13MoV, you know, not the best steel, but what Spyderco does with this steel, it's fantastic. And this is why I keep it in the kitchen. I could use it for food prep, keep my fingers out of the way, and it never gives me a problem. I've never had any issues like getting dull or rusting. Well, I do have a story about that. And then the plus is that it comes with this awesome sheath. It's really well made. It holds the knife really well also, like the retention, right? It does not let this knife go. I really like that. Any type of piercing and slicing motion like this into this lemon cucumber is really easy with this knife. It has a trailing point blade, which, correct me if I'm wrong, has a smaller angle than a drop point blade, so it just is a lot narrower at the end and can really pierce, you know, especially when you're handling fruits or vegetables like this. Sometimes you have to just open them up, and I need a knife to do that for me, or in this case, like my wife, right, trying to give some fruit to this chickens here. And now I'm doing this like nice just slice with this knife. No piercing, but it's just the geometry of it works really well for this motion. I wish I had more stuff in my hand, I guess, so I could really like do it quickly, but I tried to just show that it's just so easy. Like, you don't have to think twice about this knife when you're prepping food or whatever. So I said I had a story about rust, and my wife and I went rock fishing and took this knife, and we went on a boat, so I used this knife for everything, gutting fish, a cutting bait, so it had stuff all over it, it had salt water on it, and then I put it in its sheath, and I didn't take it out for about a week. And when I pulled the knife out, it had tiny little rust spots, but I was able to get it out with like the green side of a kitchen sponge, so I wasn't too worried about it, and especially for a $42 knife, like, it's no problem. We love to give our rabbits apples almost every day, and I like to use a different knife all the time. And what I really liked about this one is that, again, they bit my hand there. What I really like about it is that I could hold it in my hand without my thumb. It just fits my entire palm. That's what's really cool about this knife. And it just stayed sharp all day. This knife, I've just really had no problem with its sharpness. And it's crazy to me that this 8Cr is just not, it wasn't dulling. So right here, I had to just cut this line, and I was getting the line ready, and then it just popped off. I didn't even cut it. I just kind of like placed it on there. So now I'm barely holding the knife, and boom, give it like zero pressure. The knife was just that sharp. It really impressed me because I'm like, whoa, I've already been using it for a while. And it was great, man. We went to the Delta for some bluegill fishing, and we brought this knife. And the hooks that we were using had like some resin on the eye of the hooks, so the tip of this blade was perfect to just open it up. It was great. And I didn't have anything to like strap the knife onto my shorts really, so I just put it in my backpack strap like this, and it was perfect. I'm definitely gonna carry it around like this more often. And we just use it all day. I used it for some food before I touched any worms. I didn't get a video, but this is what we ended up doing mostly, just cutting up some worms for the bluegills. Spent about a little over an hour here, and we got 5 or 6. It was pretty fun. This is called water hyacinth, and it's invasive to the Delta, but man, aren't they pretty. It's actually really, really pretty. Look at the flowers that they produce. Wow, I was just like pretty mesmerized by it. So I used a knife and wanted to get one for my lovely wife. This one was pretty close to the dock. So the knife, again, sliced it with like no problem. Super, super easy. And it is pretty, but these plants do pose a problem. I think this knife was made for fish. Phil Wilson, who actually only lives like 30 miles from me, made this knife for fish and processing game. And I don't know, maybe because Bow River is in the name, river, you know, fish. But the way I experience this knife is like the best is through processing fish. Like, look at how well it slices through this. I barely have to put any pressure, and I could score this bluegill super easy. It's like not a problem. So I think this is like the best knife for processing fish, and it's a $42 knife. Like, what the... I want to say it, right? What the hell? Like, it is a $42 knife, and it works better than my, whatever, $200 chef knife. Like, it works so well for fish. I don't know why 8Cr13MoV just isn't supposed to act like that, you know? And it just really changed my perception about that kind of steel. I use this knife for not just fish, right? Just for that day, I ended up using it for yard work, because I just wanted to see, okay, I've only used this knife for food. Really, like, what else can I use it for? So I started using it for yard work, and even like pruning this little like redwood tree. It had no problem, you know, just slicing through those little branches. And it's like, man, how, I don't know, like, how can you get a more universal, utilitarian, user-friendly knife? The one thing I will say is that this knife is really handle heavy. It's not blade heavy at all. So it's really like supposed to sit, I guess, into your hand, into your palm. And while I was cutting these sunflower heads, I dropped the knife right onto my foot. And because it was handle heavy, the handle fell right on my foot, not the blade. And I thought that was pretty sweet. So tell me what you think. I mean, I love this knife. This is one of my favorite knives in my whole collection because of the price, because of the ergonomics, because of the way it looks, and honestly, kind of because of the steel. Not because it's expensive, but because it never ceases to impress me. And whatever knife it is, use it every day.